capital, we cover 20% is the local match. And then operating
The county.
the state and federal funds. Local, the local match is 50%.
But for these things, it's just 20%, right?
Well, we're doing both. Today is capital and operating.
And it's the 28th, the after is the 35th. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the only one out of the document that
Okay, the time is now after 1 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get our April 17th commissioner started with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first item on our agenda today is our county attorney, Matt Shipman.
Good afternoon. The only things I specifically have to report on are on the agenda later, so I can just kind of give you my reports as we come across them, probably.
Okay. So we'll move right into Whitley County Council on Aging, Leslie Blakley.
Good afternoon. So before you today, I have documents for our NDOT grant application for operating funds and for capital funds for calendar year 2024. And I've sent over everything to Matt, who I know has had a little bit of time to review documents. I'm just going to pass the whole stack through. I think one of these we're going to just briefly touch on, but maybe sign at a later date when we have some additional budget figures for you. The first in the stack of documents is an authorizing resolution. It basically just is highlighting that Whitley County Council on Aging and myself as the executive director are empowered to execute contracts for NDOT for our arrangement for the rural public transportation service that we provide through Whitley County Transit. And that's a resolution that needs to be, as I understand, it needs to be adopted today by the commissioners, and then it needs to be certified by Tiffany. And I've spoken with Matt about that as well.
So there will be a resolution number.
This will be 2023-09.
I'm going to pass down a blue pen for signatures. This is one of those that needs to be signed in blue.
So I would call for a motion to approve the authorizing resolution 2023-09.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously, and it looks like it requires your signature, not mine.
That is a question that we have that we'll clarify. You guys adopted and passed the resolution. The way that's worded, it's almost saying Tiffany is certifying that that's a copy of the one you provided. So we may have to circle back when we ask them for you guys just to sign one. You've adopted it.
Okay.
But we, for Tiffany's purposes, probably need one that you guys have signed just for purposes of the record. So.
Okay.
And I can get whatever you need. Just
It seems like they changed the rules a little bit. On
yeah,
this, so
it's different
we'll
than
figure
it
that out.
was last year for whatever reason, and they didn't provide explanation why. They just told us it needs to be certified by someone other than the commissioners. So on to the second item, we have the local financial assurances. What this is stating is that we understand that for operating expenses, we are responsible for a local match, and we being Whitley County Council on Aging, not Whitley County Commissioners, are responsible for covering 50% for operating expenses of what our annual budget is, which is still being finalized. And for any capital expenditures that we're responsible for 20%. That we have expressed an interest in ordering 2 vehicles for next year. We've not even been told yet whether or not we'll be granted those vehicles. So I'll be basing all of our financial guidance that's listed on the back of that document off of the assumption that those vehicles will be granted to us upon our request. But we unfortunately won't know that information before the application is due to be submitted. So we'll submit based on that information. So once I finalize our budget, which we will be meeting later in the week, this week to finalize our budget, I will circle back around with those numbers for you.
So Leslie, just because I may have confused the commissioners, you're saying that the local match that will be on this Exhibit A will be Whitley County Council on Aging.
Yes,
Correct?
yes,
Now, you may come ask for funds, but you're not asking them to say, here's the fund it will come from. It's going to
no,
come from you.
it will be coming from us
That's
through
easier.
community partners. For example, funding from the Community Foundation, funding from United Way, those types of organizations. So that's what will be listed under Exhibit A as where do we expect or anticipate those funds to come from. And it will tell you the full amount of what local share we're looking for and the funds that we expect those to be provided by.
Okay.
So as opposed to you guys pledging, hey, we promise to pay some
Correct.
indeterminate amount as a match.
Very important distinction.
Yes,
It's
for sure.
not,
And
it's not funds for the
I
commissioners to come up
misunderstood
with.
that, so that's why I want to make sure you guys do
Yep.
it. If that's
Yeah.
really them.
But you'll
pledging.
bring it back. I mean, this was just this was the one document I didn't feel comfortable with because
Yep.
obviously we don't have the amounts.
Absolutely, and I didn't expect that. I just wanted it to be, it presented and to be on the record at today's meeting.
Yep.
That I'll bring that data in probably the end of the week, perhaps early the following week.
Okay.
Okay, then we're on to item number 3 is the capital project categorical exclusion. And this is a document that's simply stating that under FTA regulations, we qualify for a categorical exclusion. It's a fairly straightforward, I've X'd off, I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of it in front of me, but I've marked the category that we qualify for that categorical exclusion, and that's all it's stating is that we do qualify for that.
Yep. So I will call for a motion on the categorical exclusion classification of capital projects checklist. It's a mouthful.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. This just requires one signature.
Correct. The next is certification of use of capital equipment. And basically this document is just verifying that we understand and meet the regulations for the use of equipment for facilities and for property that is purchased with federal funding, that it's to be designated solely for the purpose of the rural transit system.
Do I have a motion to approve the certification of use for project equipment and facilities?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. That passes unanimously.
The next item is a special labor warranty. And Matt, you can probably speak to this a little bit more eloquently than I am able to, but it provides labor protections for transit employees. It asks for any union representative information. We don't have a union representative. So it's basically just stating that information.
It's, as I told you guys before the meeting, this really doesn't apply to us. It's meant, obviously, the federal government doesn't want these funds to be used to displace or in some way replace other people that are federal transit employees. But we're in a rural county, but this is our only option. And so these warranties, especially because there's a non-union shop, are important, but really don't apply to us.
Do I have a motion to approve the special warranty agreement?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing that, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that also passes unanimously.
The next item is of Federal Transportation Administration certifications and assurances. Essentially, it's a very long document that certifies that we understand what's required of us through FTA and that we meet those expectations.
And this document is the same one we sign every year. So this one is the same. And I have to sign that along with
Correct.
the check. So.
Do I have a motion to approve the certification and assurances?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that passes unanimously.
And then the final item that I have today is the pass-through agreement. And that is just our standard agreement that lists the commissioners as the pass-through agency for federal funds received as a part of the rural transit system. So
Do I have a motion to approve the pass-through agreement?
Yeah, Matt, that's the same one that we sign every year. So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
and that also needs to be signed by both Chad and Matt.
So it's the grant application that's due by the 28th, is that right?
That's right.
Okay,
Yes, and it's for both capital and for operating
okay.
expenses this year.
Any word on the other vehicles that are out there?
Not yet. They're in transport, from what we understand, that everything's moving along smoothly. We just don't know yet when we'll receive this.
Okay,
Sooner rather than later, we hope, but
sure.
Mhm.
that's always the case.
Okay, anything else for Leslie?
Nothing, thank
Thank
you.
you. So the next item on the agenda then is Nathan Bilger with the plat approval.
Good afternoon. Have one plat for your review and approval this time. It is called the Scott and Jessica Smith subdivision. It is actually a partial replat of the Smith Kids Edition located on State Road 9, just outside of the city's extraterritorial jurisdiction. What they were doing is they were adding acreage to the plat, and the surrounding parent tract that they're taking acreage from also needs to have some reworked to it. But this part is the plat component of it, winds up being one lot, just a little bit larger than currently. Was reviewed at the February Plan Commission meeting and received approval at that time. I believe this does not include any additional right-of-way for State Road 9, so the main thing you'd be looking at is reviewing and approving the proposed utility and drainage easements. Any questions for me?
I do not.
I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second.
I have a motion to approve the Scott and Jessica Smith subdivision. And a second, is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that motion passes unanimously.
Sign that now. One. While that's going down the row for signatures, I wanted to remind you and the audience, that there is a joint county commissioner and plan commission workshop scheduled for 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening to go over the direction of the solar code changes. So because it's preceding the plan commission meeting, we'll be limited to about 45 minutes to an hour. But I think that should cover getting the direction set.
And I know you intend to attend that, right?
Yeah.
And I know that Rob will be there and I will do my best, but I can't promise that I'll be able to attend.
Well, if you can, that would be great. And if not, I know the other two can relay messages. So
Set in the basement, just for.
yes, usual place for the plan commission meetings, the basement.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Nathan. Next item on the agenda is Paula Worden with the 2024 Community Corrections and Justice Reinvestment.
Hi.
Worden, Director of Corrections.
With me, the Chief Probation Officer.
We are here today to get approval to submit the 2024 grant application. I'll just need one signature on the letter that's going and it's required from the commissioners. If awarded, this will be the 34th year that we've received this funding. It is all to help with the council staff.
Great. So I'm sure everyone's had a chance to review the letter. I would look for a motion to allow for me to sign the letter.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks for giving us everything. We had it printed to the,
Thank you.
Thank you.
next item on the agenda, Brad Allen.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Brad.
This is simply a request that we, the Engineer Surveys Department, open an account at Ace Hardware so we can more easily spend existing funds there for items we need for field work, stuff like that.
And you would be the account owner and provide them with the authorized users then?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So that'd just be you and Max?
Yeah, and Jenny maybe.
Okay. I have no issues. So I'll make a motion to approve the Ace Hardware account for the drainage and engineering department.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. And that passes unanimously. Thanks, Brad.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is the Highway Department for a right-of-way permit.
On the agenda, I do have the right-of-way permit, and then I also had sent a letter of understanding for an unofficial detour for NDOT that I think that you have received copies of as well. But as far as the right-of-way permit here, this is for NIPSCO on Crescent Avenue, and this would be up at Tri-Lakes. They're going to be making two cuts in the pavement. Excuse me, one cut is to retire an old gas service, and then the second cut is to hook up a new gas service for a new build. And I think that they're just trying to cover their bases. They have a note on here that a cut is probably going to be required. So we're just treating it as such. So there's no concerns from a drainage standpoint. It is relatively new pavement, so we do want to ensure that the repairs are done correctly. So we'll be monitoring that. But it's our recommendation to approve it from the highway standpoint.
I'll make a motion to approve the request as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Is there a copy that you want us to sign, or can I just sign the copy that I had
Just that
printed?
one's fine. Mhm. And then for the unofficial detour from NDOT, they're going to be doing a bridge deck overlay that is just outside of South Whitley on State Road 205. So NDOT does have an official detour posted that will utilize all state roads, but they always ask us if there are local roads that we would like to categorize as an unofficial detour to have them be eligible for reimbursement if there's any kind of damage repairs that we need to do. So the detour that has been specified is 500 west of Polk Road to 600 west. And those are the roads that were recommended by myself and the foreman. So those are just, there's an authorization here for, and I don't know if you have a copy of this as well for signature, otherwise I do. But there is just an area for you to sign for your approval for that particular route for the unofficial detour.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the unofficial detour?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand.
And then the last thing, I just have some information. We did apply for a community crossings grant back in January of this year. We requested the full $1 million from the state of Indiana, and we received word last week that that was awarded. So we will be moving forward with paving just under 10 miles of roadway this year within Whitley County.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anything else for me?
Do you need copies of those?
Usually sends them to me.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the NIPSCO Gas Agreement. So I can start with that. So NIPSCO is going to make improvements to the gas lines that run to Connection Way. Obviously, we're on the receiving end of that with the jail project. But as a part of that, there's financial commitment, and NIPSCO needs an agreement signed. This was as a result of some of the meetings that we had that we had with Wygand and Elevatis. And so Matt has had the agreement and he's reviewed it. So I'm sure everybody has seen the agreement.
I just want to remind it's a DocuSign, so it won't be
Okay.
paper form.
Okay. So Matt, is there anything that you feel we should highlight on that, or?
You might want to just, it's fine, but it looks like it's set up for Kami to DocuSign it. It should probably be changed to be Chad, and I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Kami would appreciate not signing this agreement with NIPSCO, but no, other than that, I mean, this is most of what's in here. Wygand and Elevatis will need to be aware of it. I'm sure they are because of the specs and things that are in there. But other than that, it's pretty standard agreement with NIPSCO, and the agreement itself is really not that long.
So do I have a motion to approve the agreement with NIPSCO for improvements to Connection Way?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And oppose the same, and that passes unanimously. And Kami, is Kami in here? You'll let them know to make the change so it comes to me. The next item on the agenda is the tax sale agreement, SRI 2023. Is Kay here? Do you want to speak to that? Okay.
It's the same agreement as every year, except for they are increasing the fee for the parcels, which is not county paid, it's paid by whoever purchases property from 100 to 125. Had a chance to review that or not.
Yeah, I
Just gets tacked on to the taxes.
The It's an
and then
additional-
paid during the tax sale.
Mm.
Okay.
The signatures pages are two on one and page behind the other signature.
Is the treasurer?
So do I have a motion to approve the agreement with SRI for the tax sale for 2023?
So
I'll make-
moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Motion by Rob, second by Teresa. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And that also passes unanimously. So you're saying there are two signature pages?
Yeah, there's only spots for two there and the third one.
Oh, I got you.
Page
Okay.
Yours is on that.
It's the next page, Rob, the very next one. You're holding two.
No.
And the next item on the agenda is the Humane Shelter Agreement. This is an annual agreement that we have with the Humane Society. Yeah, you've had a chance to review.
I have, it's just a one-page memorandum of understanding. It is really, as far as I can tell, exactly the same as always. It's capped at the same amount that it has been for years. And if you look at the statement, relative to, the overall charges that they have in there, we pay our capped amount, looks like pretty early in the year usually. And they continue to provide the service. And I don't know.
And it's a biannual fee.
It's
And they're not
$108 per, capped it at 25,000, and it looks like based on the animals, the number would have been 60-ish thousand last year, and we only paid 25. So we're getting a lot of value for that. And I'm sure they make up the rest of it with donations and things. So, but
Okay.
it has the same cap as it has for as long as I can remember, has been that number.
Any questions about the agreement with the Humane Society? I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU with the Humane Shelter.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And the next item on the agenda is proposed amendments to the American Rescue Plan. Dale Book is here from Economic Development Corporation. Do you want to talk to that, or Teresa, do you want to? Stick to
So as everyone's aware, or I think most of you are, we have a Whitley County Broadband Committee. And so the committee is looking at hiring consultant to help Whitley County get get some of the grant funding that is out there. Bring a lot of the service providers together. And he's been very successful. So Dale, I'll let you talk
Yeah,
more in
so
detail about
just-
that.
Yeah, Dale Booth, Whitley County Economic Development. A couple of things about, we put together a committee, whether you want to call it a task force or whatnot. It's not a formal thing per se, but a lot of the economic development groups in the region have done the same. The idea was to bring about, a handful of stakeholders who could then work with the internet service providers. And, the goal is to do something that's comprehensive for the entire county, and it's a coordinated effort. Right now we've got 3 or 4 internet service providers in and around the county, and there's nobody really coordinating that. My counterparts in DeKalb and Wabash and Allen County and have been working with a certain gentleman, Zach Sand, on his effort to bring the most available funding to those committees or task force. I talked to Commissioner Peters of Allen County. They recently announced a $25 million program that Zach led. There is an awful lot of next level connection dollars coming out from the state in April and May. We want to make sure we have access to those funds. And then I want to make sure I get the name of it right. The Broadband Equity Access and Deployment Program, which is a federal program that's down the road a little bit later, which could mean almost $1 billion to the state of Indiana for connectivity and rural broadband. So the goal would be to use Zach for up to a year with his retainer that's in the proposal. And again, there's a 30-day out clause for any reason we're not happy with that. And we would like to use ARPA funds as other counties have used to pay for that consulting agreement.
And the goal is that we would use the ARPA funds to pay for SAN strategies, but not necessarily to fund broadband internet later down the road. He's just identifying grant opportunities for internet service providers to apply for.
Right. Again, the way these funds that are coming out of either the state or the federal, counties and municipalities don't apply to them. The internet service providers do. And it's a way to make sure we help them be as successful as they can. So we especially start looking at, as much of the county as possible to get covered.
So the agreement with SAN Strategies, would that be an agreement between the county and SAN Strategies or between Economic Development Corporation and SAN Strategies, or?
It's currently in DeKalb and Wabash and Allen. It's been with the county.
Okay.
Not with economic development.
Okay.
I misspoke. I'm sorry. I just assumed that it would be, since they technically have the committee, that they would hold the contract.
Especially if we're going to use ARPA funds to pay it, it would need to be with the county.
Sure. Yep. It was just a question that I had. I wasn't really sure who the agreement was with, if it was with the county
But
or
I'm
with.
happy to be the point of contact, report periodically, and, make sure we're getting, what we think
Right.
is value for the contract.
So the committee has kind of already decided like what it is that is adding value and what's not, and when to pull the trigger on the exit clause. And
Well, we'll certainly know very quickly as the next level connectivity grant dollars are just a few weeks away.
okay. Okay. And so when we're amending should we choose to, when we amend the American Rescue Plan, then we would have just 20,000, or what was the amount that?
Well, I would think it would need to be at least for 12 months. I mean, we can always cut it out early, but just so we're not constantly amending it. So I would like to do it for 12 months at 36,000. But if
Okay.
we don't need it for that long, then certainly we won't continue it. But I think these grant dollars are going to be coming out a lot longer than 12 months. So
Sure.
I would make a motion that we would approve $36,000 for an internet consultant for the Whitley County Broadband Committee.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Just for clarification and discussion purposes, from our perspective, the motion should be to amend the plan, which is just so Tiffany gets it. And then same process, it has to go to council then for the allocation. But
Mhm.
Right.
you guys
It's my-
control the plan, so that's what your motion in essence.
Yep,
is.
that was my motion.
So then as we amend the ordinance, that won't need to come back to us, right? That will just go directly to council for approval for the allocation of funds, right?
So, well, council doesn't meet until after our next meeting anyway, so I'll probably have a formal ARPA plan for you guys, assuming that it passes, to adopt at the May, whatever the May meeting is, and then
Okay.
we'll have council, and then I'll do the allocation like we normally have.
Well, and with talking to Tiffany with being on, I don't know, I guess the ARPA account for the treasury to deposit the funds, since now we do know the final rule and we do know what we need to do, Tiffany and I discussed, we do think it should be formally done at the next meeting. So because we do know better now, so we should have it done and it should be official. So if you could get that to us.
Yeah,
And then the resolution for council, because I know they're going to want it as early as possible to look at.
It should, I mean, I could probably get that to you within a day or two, that part's easy.
Okay.
I did interrupt you guys voting though.
Yep.
So, okay.
So I do have a motion and a second on the floor to approve 36,000 from ARPA to pay for an agreement with CN Strategies. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And oppose the same, and that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale.
So the next item on the agenda is a facilities request. This comes to us from Joanne Bird. And this is for the, looks like the Veteran of Foreign Affairs Auxiliary for Poppy Month. So they are asking to use, to be able to decorate the gazebo and educate people about poppies for Memorial Day weekend. The date requested is the 5th of May, and that would run through the 31st of May. And that would be, Joanna, would be just decorated that whole time, right? And then somebody would be there for special events. Is that right? Okay. Okay. And then for, as far as maintenance of the decorations, if something were to blow over or something, is the Veteran of Foreign Wars Auxiliary going to maintain it? Okay. Any questions?
I have no issues.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve this facilities request.
So move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Next item on the agenda is accounts payable and payroll claims.
I had the opportunity to review both, starting Friday and finishing this morning, and everything looked to be in order. I saw no issues.
I'll make a motion to approve payroll.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve payroll. All those in favor, raise your right hand. I'd entertain a motion to approve accounts payable.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve accounts payable. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Previous meeting minutes approval. Has everyone had a chance to review? I know, Rob, you were absent for this one.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 3rd Whitley County Commissioner meeting minutes.
And I will second that and call for the vote. All those in favor signify by raising your right hand. And
I'll-
opposed the same. And
I'll
Rob, you
abstain.
abstain. Next up on the agenda, public comment. We'll open up for public comment. If anybody would like to come forward and speak, we'll allow for 3 minutes for each person to come forward and speak.
Information for each one of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mike Rowland. 3606 South Meridian Road in Columbia City. As I will be reading mostly from the Agribusiness Initiative. Pulled this off our own EDC website. And what is confusing to me is that we put out this paperwork for how well Whitley County wants to be connected to the agribusiness community. Whitley County has 180,000 acres assessed to be the leading producer of corn, soybeans, hogs, and cattle. More than 16% of Indiana workforce is connected to agriculture and forestry, which adds 25 billion to the economy of the state each year. A lot of things have been coming to light on this solar, as we call it, farm, and I wish we would find a different adjective for that, because it's not a farm. It is a commercialized industrial project. There ain't a darn bit of farming to it. Some of the things that come forth out of this project is that a lot of people don't understand is this ground will never be farmable again, because they come in and strip all the topsoil off. So once they decide to leave, whether they file bankruptcy, move on to a different location, damage from tornadoes. We just had one in Spencerville that tore up stuff. We've seen other areas that have been tornado damaged. There's no guarantee that the solar company will repair the damage, because if it gets too extensive, 95% chance is they're going to file bankruptcy on us and walk away. And once they do that, then the county is going to be left for cleanup. And it is not going to be cost effective. It's not going to be cheap because right now in the United States, there's only 2 places that even take solar panels. We are dumping them on third world countries. And one of these days, that country won't exist because of all the toxic chemicals that are in these solar panels. The second page you have is Indiana House Bill 1557. People in Indianapolis are starting to realize that we're taking way too much farm ground out of production. The sad part is solar energy produces 1% of the total usage that we have. And why Leeward decided that Whitley County was the place to go is beyond me. We only have 170 days of sunlight per year. So that means that almost 50% of the time that them solar panels are going to stand there and do nothing. The economic benefits, as Mr. Wolf stated the other day, he didn't give any numbers. He just said that we as the community didn't understand the economic impact that would generate. And I would question his theory, but I need to see his figures where he's coming up from this. And I will be at the commissioners meeting, or not commissioners, the Plan Commission Wednesday to address some of these questions that a lot of us have. I'm not the only one that feels this way. You know, he spouted off that, oh boy, it's just going to be a money-making blah, 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 but never threw out the first figure as to what it was going to be. I do know that what these solar people have promised these farmers on their, I'll call it cash rent for lack of a better concept, but it's not feasible. From the one that I heard was like $900 an acre. Yes, that's almost 4 times what we get right now, give for cash rent right now. But I do know that the wind people are paying 10 cents or 10% of what they promised to these guys. And the only sad part is that at least with the wind, you can still farm around the turbines. These, nothing. They're just absolutely nothing you can do with them other than watch them stand there and hopefully get sunshine to make them work. Personally, I think this is the craziest idea I've ever heard. Putting solar farms in Whitley County. We are not compatible for a solar project, period. We have a giant aquifer that runs under Whitley County. And once these things that they have to be maintained to a standard that they won't maintain to because they can't afford to maintain them to that standard, but they leak toxic materials. It does not take long to get down through the soil to the water table. And I guess my 3 minutes is about up.
I think we're a little over. I think we are a little over on time.
I will promise you guys, you 3, this, that every meeting that we have, we will be bringing you more information to make your decision on. It's not to be taken lightly, and some people think that it should be. But we need, as the group of Whitley County people, need to make our thoughts and our information known to you because you're the ones making the decision that affects our livelihood for the rest of, as old as I am, the rest of my life. And it's not fair to the younger generation that might want to start farming as a true farmer, that is, not a solar farmer. But that is my promise to you 3, that we'll be keep digging and digging and digging, because I have not read one thing yet that supports solar power. It's
Okay.
unfeasible without government subsidy, and why would we want to spend money that we don't need to spend?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else that would like to come forward for public comment? Yep, if you could just introduce yourself.
My name is Allie Doherty. I'm from the Indiana Office of Community and Rural Affairs. I just wanted to introduce myself today, provide some information on the Indiana Connectivity Program and some of our other grant programs. So that's in my cards.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't even see you back there.
I was hiding.
Thank you.
Tuesday. You've got my card, so I will give you another one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Matt, do you have anything additional? Tiffany? Commissioner Shipman?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Basinger?
Nothing.
And I have nothing to add, so at this time, I'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you.